Welcome to News Talk with Simone Ivani at the International News Channel. After 20 years of war, the Taliban, for the second time, has swept to victory in Afghanistan. This past summer, as soon as all American troops left Afghanistan, on order by President Joe Biden, it took little to no time for the Taliban to take control of the country. This has led to immediate panic amongst Afghans as they're trying to flee the country. While some have succeeded, thousands are still stuck there as of this moment. Meanwhile, reports of violence, of forcing women to marry Taliban fighters, and so many more harsher realities have been flooding the media. Resultantly, the international community is fearful for the future of Afghans. Will the Taliban respect human rights? Will women be banned from education, work, government positions, and other major parts of civil society? Will people be able to leave the country at all? Many such questions and concerns are being discussed in the global community today. Joining us today to talk about what's been going on in Afghanistan, we are joined by Canadian Afghans Ghizol Karim Maihan Sarwary. They are on the forefront of raising their voices to create awareness for human rights abuses in Afghanistan. I want to thank you both for joining me today. So right off the bat, what was your reaction to hearing about the developments in Afghanistan since the U.S. troops began to pull out?
As I was following the news, it was expected that would be the outcome if they left Afghanistan rapidly like that. But we still felt very betrayed, upset, or confused. There's a lot of confusion.
We do feel abandoned, and after 20 years of loyalty of Afghan people to the Western, especially to the United States, it was pretty difficult and pretty hard for us to believe that our people are actually going to be left into the hands of a barbarian group, and which we see the results now.
The Taliban have been accused of destroying the culture in Afghanistan. In response, Haji Hekmat, one Taliban leader, told BBC News control of Afghanistan has passed from one foreign hand to another for 40 years. We have lost our own traditions and values. We are trying to bring our culture back to life. So in your opinion, are the Taliban actually trying to bring it back to life, or are they completely destroying it?
Well, it's obvious that they're destroying Afghan culture. Whatever they're bringing, they're claiming that it's original. They're bringing original culture back. It's not. For example, the women's clothing, it's very foreign to Afghans, and the way of life as well is foreign. Whatever they're saying, it's has nothing to do with the truth. They're doing the opposite.
That's right. We're going backwards, unfortunately. And Afghanistan is known to have thousands of years of history. And like Ghizol John just spoke about, the only woman culture, woman dresses, woman jewelry that we have, that has histories of thousands of years back. Our ancestors used to use these jewelries, use these styles, and we cannot allow a group to come in our country and step over our history and then tell our women what to wear and what to not wear. This is part of our culture, and they do not represent our culture at all.
We'll come back to the women clothing in a bit, but in terms of education, under Taliban rule, male and female students studying in the same classroom are now going to be separated by a curtain. What do you think about that?
About separating, no doubt that Afghanistan is an Islamic country. All the people of Afghanistan are Muslims. Even right now, with the previous government, there was universities, colleges, schools that they have both male and females, boys and girls, separately sitting at the same classroom. And this is only ideology of Taliban, because Talibans are madrasa students, and they look at Islamic way to the extremist way possible. And this will not only it has its own effects, because we were just stepping into a democracy. We were stepping to the people of Afghanistan just start seeing brighter days. And there is a lot to learn from our women, from our girls of Afghanistan with all these talents. Now we cannot just hide them in the rooms or hide them into burqas and control their lives. And that's how the way that we see it right now.
Do you agree?
I agree. What I wanted to add that even though it was not necessary to make the division, divide the class by the curtain, but that's not the main concern of Afghan women. As long as they get to pursue their education, work, that's the main concern.
On September 14, dozens of Afghan women in Tajikistan protested against the human rights violations under Taliban rule. There, they chanted, "Pakistan, go away from Afghanistan and stop killing Afghans." As per your knowledge, what is the background behind these slogans?
The message is very clear. It speaks for itself. So basically, why they're saying Pakistan get out of Afghanistan, stop intervening.
Yeah, it shows the strong involvement of Pakistan's invasion into Afghanistan, as we see it in the past 40 years. People are fed up. We understand that millions of Afghans are inside Pakistan refused, but we also understand that politically ISI Pakistan is behind all these problems in Afghanistan. All these ISI head members are all connected with Taliban leaders from 1990s until now, and they all have strong connections. And this is one of the main reasons that people of Afghanistan are standing, because we want Pakistan to stop supporting terrorism. Why are the terrorist organizations that be coming in Afghanistan and blow themselves up into bazaars, blow our children up, blow our kids, blow our schools, girls' schools, boys' schools, and commit suicide bombs anywhere that they could?
No.
And we're not okay with all that. And Pakistan could have stopped this long time ago and put pressure on Taliban. But now clearly we see otherwise.
They're choosing not to.
Exactly. So what I wanted to add, that they're not just slogans, they have truth and facts behind them. They're not some made-up slogans. As you know, the Prime Minister Imran Khan himself admitted that they funded Taliban. Pakistan was a safe haven for Taliban. They got armed, so they got a strong support from Pakistani government. So it's very well-known fact for Afghans. So that's why we're chanting those slogans.
No, fair enough. And speaking of all the women and girls we've been talking about, the Taliban have repeatedly claimed that they have changed their attitudes towards women and girls. At the same time, they have created an all-male government. Is it possible for them to support women and girls with this type of government?
Clearly not. Whatever Taliban are saying, it's they're contradicting themselves, and it's just to get recognition from other countries. They want to be a recognized, legitimate government. Therefore, they're saying things that are not. They're not following up with them. So under their rule, where they're trying to wipe women out of society, I don't see any support. They want to just be blended in the background, have no voice, have no involvement in government, education, or society. There's no hope for Afghan women under Taliban.
Like we've seen from last week, the brave woman of Afghanistan who stood after the call of Ahmad Massoud, the leader of National Resistance Front of Afghanistan, who's uprising against the Taliban, who's resisting them right now in Panjshir Valley. He made an announcement and called everyone to stand against the Taliban. The first people who stood was brave women of Afghanistan. They stood up against the Taliban in Kabul city. They stood up in Kandahar, in Badakhshan. They raised their voice. 2 women in Badakhshan province unfortunately got shot. And then a lot of many women in Kabul, they've been caught in the video being beat up by the Taliban. They're screaming. The people are filming them. People are watching. There's many videos that spread around the social media. Same thing in Kandahar. Recently, they misplaced 8,000 families, and they protested against the Taliban. They started hitting a lot of women too. So clearly, they're anti our women, and they don't respect women's rights. And as they try to show the world that, hey, we have changed, but we can still see all these negative impacts, even though they haven't fully controlled Afghanistan 100% yet. Now we can imagine what they do actually if they fully have the control, and how our people will be inside a cage locked and nobody is to save them.
No, save them. Adding on to that, so why do you think the Taliban claims that they have changed their attitudes towards women and girls, while their actions are showing that they haven't? Or from what you guys are saying also, they haven't.
Right now, all the Afghan citizens are hiding inside their homes. No one is in the streets. The only people who came out in the streets was those who protested, and they got beaten up. They got hit with shalaks by the Taliban. So there is not much change from Taliban from 1992 until 2001. The same beard, the same AK-47s in their hands, rifles pulling in the women's faces, the same shalaks in their hands and hitting women in the streets. And we see videos daily.
I want to add, even though they haven't changed and they keep showing that they haven't changed and they say the otherwise,
they're saying the opposite,
the opposite. So as I said, they're basically looking for recognition. They want international community to support them. They want international community to business with them, work with them, and they're also aware that if they openly torture people, abuse people, oppress women, they would be stopped. There would be intervention, international intervention. Because of that reason, they keep making PRs, lies, manipulations, spreading a lot of propaganda.
One online campaign resisting Taliban rule features Afghan women who are living outside of Afghanistan wearing colorful clothing. These posts feature the hashtags Afghanistan culture and do not touch my clothes. This campaign was a response to seeing women in Afghanistan wearing black burqas. One woman participating in the campaign said, "I don't want to be identified the way Taliban are showing me. I cannot tolerate that." Another woman in Kabul stated, "I cannot post such pictures or wear these kind of clothes here anymore. If I did, the Taliban would kill me." So according to you guys, why do you think it is important for women to be able to identify or be identified by their own culture given the situation in Afghanistan?
Well, I want to say that why Afghan women don't want to recognize Taliban imposed dress code, because first of all, it's foreign to Afghanistan, to an Afghan woman, and as well as you said, our traditional clothing is our identity. It's our representation. It has thousands of years of history. It was passed on from generation to generation. It has a lot of detailed work, delicate work, so it's basically our culture. It's very important.
Yeah, no, that's right, because that's not our clothing. For example, yes, Islam is our religion. We have Islamic culture and clothes for a woman. That's true. But let's speak about Saudi Arabia. Let's speak about all these Arabic countries that they're all Muslims and they all dress stylish. They all dress colorful. They all have makeup on. They all have. Now the Taliban think that Saudi Arabian Muslims are not the Muslims. The Muslims in Lebanon are not real Muslims. Women in Lebanon, Qatar, Lebanon, in all over the Arabic countries, all of the Islamic world. Look at how modern they are. Look how upgraded they are. Why are we Afghans stick to going backwards thousands of years? Why our woman has to be covered so we don't even see their faces? We don't see, so it does not mean that, yes, you can wear a scarf, but your face could show also. But burqa is not a must to have fully covered your face that nothing shows. And this ideology of them conflicts with all the modern women of Afghanistan, because now women understand their rights, they know their freedoms. They're not going to let this group with their ideology try to block them or stop them from their way of living.
Their way of living, exactly.
Another point I wanted to add, why also Afghan women oppose the foreign dress code, is because we believe Afghan clothing is already modest. It appropriate for Islamic way of dressing up. There's no point, there's no reason that it needs to be wiped out. And it's not, as some people claim, that it's a Western invention and it's only was made in the West and then promoted in Afghanistan. It's actually the other way. Those clothing were made in Afghanistan, so that's where the Western Afghans, the diaspora, take the clothes. And there's no, it's also our identity, and also there's no necessity to change it.
Yeah, so why do you think the Taliban want to regulate what women are wearing?
Again, it goes back to control. They want to control women. They want to make women invisible. It's all, as I said, wiping them out of society, erasing them from society.
Even more like to get detailed to get about this. For example, let's look about Pakistan. Look how women in Pakistan are dressed. Look, they're not all covered up fully.
No, gorgeous.
There's all of them. Their faces are open. Everything is fine in Pakistan. What's in Afghanistan now? These Talibans are the same people who studied inside Pakistan madrasas and studied. They got their ideologies from inside there. So why don't they activate there? They commit it there. They do it there before they come to Afghanistan and then telling our people what to wear and how to treat themselves.
No, fair enough. And I absolutely love the way you said that they're trying to make them invisible, which is an absolutely amazing way to put it. So, speaking of Canada, speaking of home and our home front, I want to get your opinion on the role Canadian government has played in context of what is going on in Afghanistan. So do you think the Canadian government's efforts for evacuation, Afghan refugee intake, and raising voices for human rights has been sufficient and efficient?
After all this protest that we have done, since we were the starter of all this movement from the youth,
Yeah.
and we raised our voice from starting August 1st until now, we have seen achievements. We have
That's
seen,
great.
for example, how Canada's government right away reacted, and right away they called out 20,000 people. And they send their word, they send their help. We asked then our team, Afghan Youth Movement of Canada, after August 15th protests, when I was personally speaking in front of CBC News reporters, I sent a message that we want the government, Canadian government, to not recognize Taliban government because they're illegal government and they are not who we want to be represented as. And the next day, it was announced that the Canadian government did announce that, and which was good. We do appreciate their help in any way, and right now we have our refugees coming here in Toronto. They're in 3-4 different hotels. They're being taken care of by Afghan Canadian response, and our members, our team members, and other organizations of Toronto, they're all helping. They're all sending donations. They're all helping with the packings and delivering it to the hotels, which we all took parts.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate all this, but this is not really enough because there's more into that 20,000 people. There's more really, like, how many people already came from Afghanistan? Probably not many, not a lot.
Not
Like
as 20,000
or
for
something,
sure.
right?
Yeah, not as
But
20,000.
now we know people that I know personally people that who are with Canadian passports inside Kabul right now. So we're in contact with them. We see what's happening. We need it more. It needs to be more happening in Canada, since it's a democratic, free, loving country, or loving by all, and diverse country that everybody sees himself part of his country, part of his home, and we expect them to pay attention a little bit more and then help our people more than this, because I'm pretty sure they can do it.
Fair enough, but I guess I want to ask you then, what else would you like to see the government do? Other than obviously fill in the 20K that they've promised.
Right now, that's the first thing first, to take out all the Canadians as soon as possible.
From Afghan,
And try to help those who work for Canadians, even though they're not Canadians. Take out those whose lives are in danger, who work for the National Army of Afghanistan, who work for these Western countries, their families are under threat, and those who are waiting for their doors to get knocked by this Taliban to take revenge on them, and they're inside their houses. They have nowhere to go. They don't have money to get out of the country. They don't have money to send their families out of the country. And besides that, we would want now that there is a resistance, national resistance starting in Afghanistan under the leadership of Ahmad Massoud in Panjshir. This is the next thing that we're focused on, that we government needs to support that, because that's the only movement by the people of Afghanistan who the vice president of Afghanistan is there. The first hand man of President Amrullah Saleh, he's in Panjshir Valley with national hero of Afghanistan, Ahmad Massoud, and their allies, and the generals and the forces that they were in Afghanistan and who run from the Taliban to hide in Panjshir. They're resistant, so now we have to help them. We have to help the resistance movement to grow the resistance movement, so they see that there's outside powers. Help them with food, help them with money, sending aid, so they could survive, they could stand, and they could resist this group. So other provinces, other people are now uprising. They could see that the West, there's a country who's backing up these people, and then we're not just giving the Afghanistan to the hands of terrorist organization that's under ISI Pakistan. We want Afghanistan to be in the hand of Afghan people. So therefore we need to stand on the side of Afghan people and support them. This is one of the main things that the Canadian politicians, just like I fully want to send my greetings and to Chris Alexander. We follow him. I personally met him on September 11th. We had an event. He came, he gave a great speech. And we need more Canadians to speak up like him, speak about the reality of Afghanistan. And we need more politicians to get involved, to raise their voice, to ask the international community to stand in Panjshir, and support the National Resistance Front of Afghanistan, which is standing for the freedom of Afghanistan, which is standing, and those people are resisting for women's rights. Those people are fighting for freedom. Those people are fighting for their human rights. Those people are fighting for their values. They're fighting against occupiers. They're people who are coming from other countries. Not only Afghanistan, they're coming from outside of Afghanistan, and their fighters are, as you know, Taliban fighters are from Pakistan, from Peshawar, from Waziristan, from Uzbekistan, from other neighboring countries too. So therefore, we need the Western community to stand with the National Resistance Front of Afghanistan and speak about it and show support. That way, we could our people could have faith and have hope that there is somebody that will kick this terrorists out of Afghanistan.
No, that's true. A little bit of support goes a really long way.
Right.
So I want to ask you, what would you like to see the Canadian government do to stand up against the oppression that Afghan women are facing?
What we can do, first of all, is recognize it, that there is a problem. There is attack against Afghan women.
Yeah.
They're being oppressed, silenced, erased from society. Canadian government, first they can do, or international community, recognize it and be their voice, and then inform other international community to stand up for them. And then the other thing that they can do is hold Pakistan or other countries that are involved accountable. So once that stops, that will solve a lot of issues, not only oppression against women, but also against minorities, against children, men, women, everyone.
Is there anything else you would want our viewers to know about what we already talked about, but anything else you want to add on to that we didn't touch?
We covered most of the important points, but we want our viewers to stand in solidarity with Afghanistan, people of Afghanistan, and don't forget us. In the end, we're all living in the same region. We're all fighting terrorism. We don't want war in any country. We don't want any innocent blood or innocent person to lose their lives over this. But we're all here fighting. Our goal is the same thing. We're all here to fight terrorism and fight their sponsors, and we need our neighboring countries to support us, to support the people of Afghanistan, so we could join hands together and fight this until we free Afghanistan.
Anything you'd like to add?
Oh yeah, the other thing is the message that Afghan women are expressing is very clear. They want basic human rights, and a lot of countries, especially neighboring countries, they misinterpret that. They say that Afghan women want Western lifestyle, that they want an Islamic lifestyle, they want to take off their hijab or live like people in USA or Canada. That's not what they're asking for. They're asking for basic human rights, for respect, for dignity, to be able to work, pursue education, support their family, not be forced into marriages, anything like that. So a lot of people are misinterpreting it on, I don't know if it's misunderstanding or if it's on purpose. That needs to stop. They're silencing their voices, actually.
Thank you guys. I want to thank you guys for joining me.
Thank you.
I know it must be a really hard topic for you guys to talk about, so thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And thank you to our viewers for tuning in. This is Simone Ivani, and you're watching the International News Channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to keep up to date on all of the latest news.